Okay.
So the mics are hot.
Great.
Now
Welcome,
switch it
everybody.
over. Yeah.
Soon you're going to see our beautiful faces.
What? There.
They already
There's
see
a
our beautiful
delay.
faces?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You have a 13-second delay on your...
Do I?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how long the Twitch
So if I
delay is.
make any mistakes, I have 13 seconds to rectify it. Is that correct?
Yeah, sure.
Really?
That's how we'll treat it.
That's great. Okay. I like that. I like the freedom.
Yeah.
All right.
You're also kind of trapped in the past.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
How
That's
free,
true.
How free can one really
That's
be?
good. That's good to think about. Today's an exciting day because we're going to talk to Joe Haldeman. So...
Yeah. We have talked.
Oh, I know that we have,
We're
but
still trapped in the past.
from there, you're on a 13-second delay. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
I couldn't tell you.
Hi,
All right.
hi, everybody
Oh,
who's watching us right now.
yeah. Okay. I'm just going to start the podcast.
Okay, in the
Good.
future or the past? Because I'm 13 seconds different. Either way.
When I say
Let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
Would it make a good premise for one character to have a 13-second delay?
to everything,
Yeah.
yes. That's pretty
How would
great.
they like it? Like a love story?
I just imagine
Just
it
anything.
being... Yeah.
Just a 13-second delay.
I would think a 13-second delay. It's a sci-fi story,
Okay.
but it's a murder. This is podcast stuff. We didn't record this at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. But our few
Yes.
live viewers right
Yes.
now can see it.
They just stole that idea right from under us.
You guys, please don't. I mean,
Okay.
please don't. We'll cut you in on it,
right.
obviously. But you want a podcast now?
Yeah.
So I should stop talking.
Uh-huh.
13-second delay. We're not going to talk about it anymore. We're just going to podcast.
Okay. Welcome to episode 159 of the All the Book Show, recorded at the David A. Howe Public Library, where we talk news. Book news, specifically.
Yeah.
Author news.
This just in.
Yeah.
Arby's is closed.
Literary news.
Oh, that
I'm
makes more
Eric
sense.
Nichols.
I'm Nick Gunning.
Look, it's almost 3 o'clock
Yeah.
on a Friday afternoon.
I know it.
I had 2 hot dogs and french fries for lunch, so I am not firing on all cylinders.
No, yeah.
In fact, I'm not even sure, one cylinder's firing
Yeah.
100%.
I always like, so if you're not local, here in Wellsville, we have a shop called the Texas Hot, which is famous for
Yeah.
their Texas hot dogs.
Yeah.
You got a hot dog. You got chili sauce. You got onions. You got mustard. It's a beautiful thing.
Uh-huh.
Eric's the only person, maybe in the world, who goes in and was like, I would like a plain hot dog, please.
Yeah.
And the look of pity they give him, they feel so
Look,
bad.
I'm good for their profits.
They feel so
I'm paying
bad for
full
them.
price for a Texas Hot.
That's
nothing
true.
on it.
You're getting a 50-cent hot dog just by itself. Yeah. They're probably like, here he comes.
Yeah.
Get the plain hot dogs.
I make it up for with their mustard. They are not. They have to restock
right.
mustard after
yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah.
So hey, I'm Eric. So people listening, because we didn't introduce ourselves.
I think we
I'm
did,
Eric Nichols.
but-
No,
and
you said Eric is.
I'm still Nick Gunning.
He's still Nick Gunning.
Yeah.
Uh,
I am. I'm on a 13-second
boy.
delay, so I'm a little off.
That's ridiculous. I had this premise for a book or a show about
Okay.
somebody who's 13 seconds behind the rest of the world.
I think that was my idea.
No, well, there's no recorded proof of
Darn
it.
it.
Yeah.
Darn it. All right. Well, you know who's good at spinning sci-fi stories dealing with bending time? Mr. Joe Haldeman.
Yeah.
And I think it's only fair, since we're having this debate about where the whole 13-second delay story would fall,
Right.
that we talk to Joe Haldeman.
Yeah.
Just get his take on writing sci-fi.
Yeah.
He's a Hugo and Nebula award-winning
Yeah,
author.
a few other awards.
you
I'm
think-
going to sneeze.
Okay,
Keep talking.
go ahead.
Keep talking about the.
So, folks who are watching or listening, you're in for a treat because
Yeah.
my good friend and colleague, Mr. Eric Mickles,
That's
scored
me.
us an exclusive interview with Joe Haldeman himself, the
Yeah.
man, the myth, the Haldeman. So we're gonna talk a
You
little
think
bit
that's
later.
You think that's how he's referred to?
I think it is,
Like-
yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to get to
The
that in a
Haldeman.
little bit. So just hold
Yeah.
tight. If you haven't read Forever War, you could pause this right now, read Forever War,
Yeah.
or The Accidental Time Machine, or whatever you like, and pop back in because a little bit later we're going to be talking to him himself. But right
Yeah.
now,
Uh-huh.
let's talk about the things that we've been reading in our own lives,
All
which
right,
means it's
sure.
time for our bookmark segment.
Do we sing a song?
I don't think so.
Bookmarks.
If anybody wants to submit a song, we
It's
definitely
time
will.
for bookmarks.
Yeah.
What have you been reading?
That is so melancholy.
sorry.
That is so melancholy.
I'm sorry. 3 o'clock on a Friday.
I mean, I knew what you're doing, but
Yeah.
still, I was so
Look,
mad.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to start with graphics.
Oh,
all right?
you're going to start with graphics.
I'm going to start with the
All
graphics
right, go
I'm
ahead.
going to talk about. So first, I read Batgirl, Family Business. I've long been a
Look,
Batgirl fan.
Her family business is none of yours.
You're right. I've long been a Batgirl fan.
Yeah.
The new 52 Batgirl was bad, and I love Gail Simone, but the new 52 Batgirl
Oh,
was
yeah. Well, that
bad.
she was having to clean up the Wise and Barbara crippled story arc.
Well,
And
whatever.
yeah.
But and the Batgirl of Burnside,
Uh-huh.
and then that whole run, I've really liked. I've only read 2 volumes of it. This is volume 2. I love the art, and I've really been enjoying the series so far. I know it gets a lot of hate, and I'm not quite sure why.
Does it?
Yeah, it does.
I know I didn't like it.
Well, yeah.
But I didn't
mean,
like it because of the
it's an
rogues.
atypical story. It's more like when things like Dick Grayson shows up in this volume and she's interacting with Batman. And it's like when those things happen, it feels like, oh, right, we're doing this.
Batman, right.
It feels like it's just its own little thing. So it doesn't sit so snugly in the rest of the universe. But I think just as a standalone Batgirl series, it's pretty good. And the art is great. I'm top notch for the arts.
Top what?
Top notch.
Okay.
Or top marks.
Yeah.
Either one. But I
Yeah.
was like, Turner.
Yeah, no, I heard it. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I didn't know if you heard it.
13-second delay.
Yeah, I got to catch up. I read Paper Girls, Volume 4. Paper Girls, the Hugo nominated story. I don't know the paper.
I think one of the...
Did it? Did the first
maybe
one win?
not. He's
I
always
know-
competing against himself with Saga as
True.
well.
Yeah, I know
So.
Volume 3 did not win, as we disclosed in our Hugo's episode of last week, episode
that's true.
158. But I am liking the series.
Paper Girl's good stuff.
I guess I'm going to put this out there for the sake of our listeners and viewers. If you've never read Paper Girls, I feel like at this point, you ought to just wait until the series is done so you can just sit down and pound through them. Because
Right.
I know you've had the same experience. Every time I pick up a Paper Girls, the first 5 pages, I'm like, who is that?
Right.
Like, where are they? What year is it?
Yeah.
Why are we at an Applebee's? And then I
But you're
figured
notoriously...
out, and I get there,
No, I was just going to say something mean.
so that I'm notoriously dim or dull or, yeah.
Like, I don't have to finish it then.
Yeah, you don't.
No, you're right.
Shouldn't.
Because they do take I think it's like almost a year.
It is.
Because he writes one. It seems like he publishes one series and then switches to Saga.
Yeah.
And then goes back to paper. So you get this more than 4-month delay.
Yeah.
That you would normally get.
Yeah, I agree.
What are you
I
looking
agree.
for?
Well, I know you're trying to find a Kleenex, and I know I have a
No,
box
I'm
of
fine.
Kleenex in here.
I'm
and
good. Listen, I'm
I
good.
was just trying to find them for you.
Yeah,
I was trying to help you
It's
out.
a little worrisome you don't have any in here.
I do. I just don't know where they are.
Like I know you sneeze.
Anyway.
So what happens with that?
What a weird and gross question.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
Speaking of the man, the myth, the Haldeman, I read Forever War, the graphic novel.
Yes.
Which was very good.
I haven't read this.
Came out in 1988
Uh-huh.
in Belgium, I think.
Yeah.
And then was translated into English
Found
and
its way
came out
over
in
here.
kind of some janky volumes many years ago.
Mhm.
And at the end of last year, came out in a nice hardcover volume with a whole series together. So that was really good. I hadn't read the book.
Mm-hmm.
I read some of Haldeman's other stuff. I haven't read the actual Forever War, but this made me want to read it because I
Yeah.
was very intrigued by the story. I found it haunting. I found it unique.
Mm-hmm.
And it was both funnier and a little more sweet than I would have expected.
Oh.
So, thumbs up for Forever War.
Okay.
Looking forward to the sequel coming out soon. And finally, I read Robin, Son of Batman, which is a Damian Wayne story.
It's not finally, but keep going.
And that's something that I'm not super thrilled about Damian.
You're not
as a
keen on
whole,
Damien, yeah.
but I like his weird
Hellboy-looking monster.
bat dragon pet.
Yeah.
And this is where he gets his bat dragon pet.
Okay.
So that was fun. And you're right, that wasn't finally enough because I also read Superman Before Truth.
Yeah.
This was very good. I love the John Romita Jr. art.
Mhm.
Good writing. Good book.
Kinetic.
I'm all for it.
Action-packed.
It is. Now moving off of graphic novels and onto novels or memoirs, as it were.
Novels.
I finished Then Again by Diane Keaton. And I'm a little on the fence about this because I liked it because I like her. But it was a lot of her talking about her parents, which is sort of the point of the memoir. So that's not so much a criticism as the way it was formatted made it very confusing because she was kind of jumping back and forth in time. Sometimes she's speaking in first person from her mother's journals. And so halfway through, you're like, wait, this is not her at all. Sometimes she refers to her parents and grandparents as mom, dad, grandma. Sometimes she refers to them as their first names.
Right.
So it was a little too scattered.
Okay.
Which is like on point, I guess. I mean, that's sort of her thing.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess that's how I feel about
when
it.
you
It's
were
a little
reading this,
half-half.
were
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
like, I like it. Then again, I don't.
pretty
then
much.
again.
And I was wearing a turtleneck the whole time. And then I don't know if I'd mentioned this last week, but I did. Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. And last week I said I referred to her as a her, which I believe is what I was supposed to think. But no, this and Final Girls, the one right before this, are written by an author named Todd Ritter, who's written some thrillers under his own name. But I think there's a new thing where they're kind of like piggybacking on the whole like girl on a train, like female written about a kind of a damaged female heroines. So you got this, and you have A.J. Finn's A Woman in the Window, which both have sort of an androgynous name, so you don't know
Right.
the gender. I think it's an interesting trend. I don't know how much
Question.
longer it's going to last, but
And the term piggyback.
yeah,
Is the pig on the back, or are you on the back of the pig?
a piggyback ride.
Yeah.
Uh,
You're getting
I think
on the
it's about,
pig.
No. I think it's about like a farmer carrying a pig.
So the pig is being carried.
I think so.
All right.
I'm not sure.
So when you give a kid a piggyback ride,
Yeah.
the kid is the pig.
You know what? I'm going to have Roger, our senior intern, take a look at this. Roger, could you look
Roger?
at the piggyback? Where is
Wow.
Where? What is he doing over there?
He's giving
What?
you the bird.
He's giving me the bird?
Yeah, but he was doing it on where you couldn't see it, but I could
don't
see
understand.
it.
Is it just because we don't pay him and we make him do all sorts of stuff for us that he's angry?
We would make him do stuff if he actually did stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
So sorry, Roger.
He's not going to be anybody's.
Oh, good. Now I'm getting double bird.
I don't know. I don't know where it comes from. I'm trying
All
to
right.
look it up.
You're actually researching
Yeah, I want to
piggyback.
know. I want to know
Listen,
like,
I didn't
where,
think it was gonna
where
be
it
this-
came from.
That's important.
Piggyback origins. I'm typing in,
Huh.
and we'll find
This is
out.
gonna be a weird search.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know.
All right.
All right, let's see. Finish that again. I finished Last Time I Lied. That's where we were. Riley
Yeah.
Sager's Last Time I Lied.
Piggyback.
This one was very okay. It was the kind of book that, like, I would expect to pick up on a carousel in, like, a pharmacy or an airport, and then just, like, kind of read over the weekend on a couch. Like, it was never really deep. It was never particularly good. There were a lot of times where you just feel like, is that really a motivation to act that way? That's really, you're stretching a lot of logic there. But at the end of the day, like, I had fun. It was interesting. It had an interesting resolution. Was it a good book? No. Was it a readable book? Very. Would I recommend it? Depending on the circumstances, you know.
You're
If
all
you-
over the place. This
I'm
is
just-
Ben again right now.
if you're reading a lot of heavy stuff and you want to just like sit down on a porch swing somewhere and read a thriller, I think it's worth a couple hours. It's going to take you to get through it, but don't take that ringing endorsement as me saying that I think it's a good book, because I do not.
Were you afraid of legal ramifications for saying you don't have to take my word for it? Because I felt like you were heading that direction.
I didn't even think about it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even think about it, but now it's all I can think of.
All right.
And finally, on to what I'm currently reading.
Oh,
and this is
boy.
going to be on this guy's currently reading list, because we're going to do a spotlight on this book, because it's the very first novel published by a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed young Michael Crichton, written while he was a med student in the 60s. He's in his early 20s. It is nothing like you would expect from Michael Crichton. It's like a heist,
Right.
a little heist. Three guys are doing a heist. Very different, very different. I don't want to get into it now because we're going to do a whole spotlight on it.
How many dinosaurs are in the odds on?
Many.
Okay.
Too many, if
Sure.
I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I think, like, you have a dinosaur as a bank teller? I didn't get it, but
Really?
he figures it out
That's
later.
a different situation of dinosaurs than I was hoping, but
figures
it's
it out
fine.
later.
Yeah, it's fine.
So, Reading Odds On by Michael Crichton, writing as John Lang, brought to you by the good folks at Hard Case Crime.
Okay.
What about you? I imagine there's a lot of the Marvel Now app in our future.
Yeah. First, I'll say I finished Forever Free by Joe
okay.
Haldeman,
All right.
who we're interviewing.
We're going to talk to you a little later. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we should.
Yeah. So I like this is the direct sequel to
You sure about that?
Forever War.
Okay.
Because I just read Forever Peace.
Yep.
And that was more of a spiritual sequel.
Little
This is
confusing.
Yeah,
with
this
the titles.
this is the same characters, same world.
It's like Mandela.
Yes.
Okay.
Same characters and everything. And it's weird because it seems like the story's going one way, and then it just says like, nah, let's just go back, and
Yeah.
then it's a completely different story. So depending on how much you were enjoying where you thought the book was heading versus where the book does head,
Yeah.
it depends on. That's going to affect how much you
I
enjoy the
see.
book.
Okay.
So it's kind of a twist. I would have preferred the direction it was going,
Okay.
but there you go.
That's a real iffy situation.
Yeah.
I've read many a book where I was disappointed, and then it takes a very unexpected turn, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
Okay.
And other times where it's like, oh, but what about,
Yeah.
what about the promise of the first 100
Sure.
pages?
Yeah.
So you're on the
But
fence.
it was good. I mean, I read Forever Free very fast
Oh,
compared to Forever Peace,
Okay.
which I also enjoyed, but that one took me a little bit longer. Forever Free, I just kind of like I couldn't really put it down.
Oh,
It had a much fast pace.
So those are about what? It's like 30 years in between those books?
25, I
25?
think.
Okay.
Yeah, he dedicates it to his wife, and he says 25 years later. That
Okay.
might mean 25 years since they've been married.
No, I think it's 70s and late 90s. So yeah, you're
Well, there
probably
you go.
right. You're probably right. Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Reading reading a book that's like, his what's the word? Like the pinnacle, right? I mean, that's
Okay.
the one that everybody looks to in his youth versus 25 years later. Do you find is the writing feel very similar?
It does, yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not a big difference
not always
between
the
his writing style, I don't think. But also, it's been a while since I read Forever War.
Okay.
And I read Forever Peace and Free
Yeah.
much quicker with
Sure.
each other.
Okay.
So, but more on Jewel Haldeman later.
Later.
All right. What else did I read?
You tell me. I don't know.
Listen, I said I'll get to it.
Well, tell
I'm
me.
getting to it right now.
Everybody's wondering.
I did read a comic. I read Venom: Separation Anxiety. And what I really did was I just read all the comics in my Marvel Unlimited app
Okay.
that are then collected in Separation Anxiety.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So the more 90s Venom comics, and as I said last time, Venom was not someone who had his own series. He just had a bunch of mini-series that just kept following each other, so they could constantly give you a new number one issue every like 3 or 4 issues. The Separation Anxiety collection, it's fine. He meets some. They teamed him up with some very 90s characters.
I mean, Venom to me just drips of the 90s. I've never read a solo Venom.
Right. If
and
you
I doubt
if
very
you
much
want-
that I ever would.
if you want to see Marvel's like 90s characters that were created in the 90s and then never seen or heard from again, Venom is like the tour you can take.
Yeah. Like people.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, I can't remember. There's a Ghost Rider wannabe, and I can't remember his name, but he was dumb. There was this Punisher wannabe, and he was dumb. Just a lot of like, oh boy, they were really hoping to. You could tell Image Comics was happening off in the distance. So.
That's a burn on somebody. I'm not sure who.
But it was still fun. These comics are easy to read. They're sort of fun. The next issue I have to read. So what I'm currently reading is Venom: Carnage Unleashed. So Carnage Unleashed is a collection of the next couple of comics I need to read.
Is Venom eating a lot of people's brains?
He's always saying that. Did Venom ever eat anybody's brains?
I don't-
He's
No,
always
I
like
don't-
wants to
I
eat
don't
Spider-Man
recall.
brain, but it's like I think that's a weird thing he says. But anyways, Carnage Unleashed is going to have the Planet of the Symbiotes, which is what the movie apparently is taking. They're
I see.
taking.
And that's with Charlton Heston. Where
Yes.
He lands.
Yep.
Okay.
So Planet of the Symbiotes and the one I just read, Separation Anxiety. I think those are the ones. No, I'm sorry, Lethal Protector. They're the ones that are going to like be based on the movie that's coming up.
Oh.
So Planet of the Symbiotes, Carnage Unleashed, where apparently they make a video game about Carnage and Venom's out to stop him or something.
Do you agree with my assessment that
Uh-huh.
the Venom movie is to the Marvel universe as the Solo movie was to the Star Wars universe?
I don't know. Apparently, Rotten Tomatoes said it's one of their most people have said it's their most
Really?
anticipated film of
Oh,
the year.
wow.
So I have no
Well, what do
idea
I
what's
know?
going to happen. But it also might be just like internet is very loud about it, and
Could
then
be.
no one else goes to see
Could
it.
be. I guess it just seemed to me like when I didn't hear anybody being like, "Yes, a Venom movie,"
Yeah.
when they announced it.
I was in a more obnoxious theater when I saw the trailer
Oh.
at Infinity War. I had a bunch of kids be like, "Oh, these are the symbiotes and this." I'm like, "Shut up, kid!" I said that. I said, "Shut up, kid!" And then all the kids turned and looked at me because they all thought I was talking to them, and I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah,
and they were
you."
they were like, "Topher Grace sure has changed."
So, what else did I read?
I don't know, man.
I've started. So this is the third Witcher novel, though it's technically Witcher book 5 because the first 2 were the short story collections.
Yes.
And so now I'm reading Baptism of Fire.
Would you like to hear a scoop here from the David A. Howe Public Library?
Yes, I would.
We have purchased all Witcher books.
That's exciting.
all of them. We have one. We have the first short story
Last Wish.
collection,
That's
and it's
the-
gone out quite a few times.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing the other ones come in for hold.
Yeah.
So I just sat down, bought a box set.
That's exciting.
Got the works.
Nice.
So if you are a Witcher fan from the games or from you maybe just read a little bit,
Of the Witcher.
one-stop shop, baby.
Yeah.
Just come right here to the David A. Howe Public Library.
Yeah.
Check out all Witcher books.
Well, actually, I think I read the first one because of Overdrive,
oh,
which is other libraries have as well.
I see.
So that's the ebook library system.
if you're not familiar,
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
Overdrive or Libby app you can access with any card in the Southern Tier Library
Mhm.
system, preferably the David A. Howe Public Library,
Right.
because
Yeah.
because
Go.
so yeah, you can get ebooks, you can get audiobooks, you can get some graphic novels, you could even get some movies and TV shows using Overdrive and Libby. That's relatively new. And my personal favorite with the audiobooks, you can kick up that speed a little bit. So that book that you thought was going to take
Yeah.
you 11 hours, 9.5.
You saved 2 hours?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 hours? 2 hours in book hours
Yeah.
is a lot.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
5 years in dog years?
How long?
35 years.
Everyone saw you do that math
Darn
in your
it.
head. Oh, that was the worst episode of Sesame Street I've ever seen.
Oh, great. Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Get on with it.
All right. Me, you're the one talking.
No, I'm done.
Oh, that's it.
That's what I've read. I read a bunch of Avengers comics. I don't want to talk. I told you I wasn't going to talk about them until I'm done. They have not been good.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
Yep.
Venom and Avengers the Venom comics from the 90s have been better than Brian Michael Bendis Avengers comics from just a couple years ago.
Huh.
So take that.
Well,
Bendis.
Yeah, you have a well-known vendetta against the man, so I don't know
Well,
how.
it's because he's betrayed me. Because I
Really?
liked him. I liked
Betrayal.
Ultimate Spider-Man. I liked
You
his
did.
Daredevil. I even liked Powers. But once he starts writing team
Oh,
books,
powers.
once he starts writing books with multiple lead characters, he just doesn't know. He just falls apart. He's like, what if every page was 80 panels of them just talking
Yeah.
straight at the camera like it's a camera?
There's more dialogue in his stuff than like the Stan Lee ones from
Yeah,
the 60s.
yeah, it's true, man.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, let's turn over to some book news and some advanced notices coming out here. First up, a character who's been in the news, I guess, quite a lot lately would be Jack Ryan. Jack Ryan is back with Mark Cameron's Tom Clancy's, that's a lot of names, Tom Clancy's Oath of Office, a Jack Ryan novel. The fall of the Iranian government presents unexpected danger for President Jack Ryan in the latest entry. I was going to say last. Wow.
Yeah.
The best-selling Tom Clancy series. President Jack Ryan preaches caution when the prospects for a Persian Spring excite the rest of the world. His is the lone Western voice urging watchfulness, and he says, sometimes it's better to have all the bad guys in one place where you can keep an eye on them rather than scattered around the Middle East. Jeez.
Okay, yeah.
That seems a little... Anyway. Meanwhile...
Look, it's a Tom Clancy book. You're not reading these for subtlety.
It's just not that nuanced.
Yeah,
Just-
well.
All right.
Yeah.
Painting with a pretty broad brush there, the ghost of Tom Clancy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the campus has been trailing a major international arms dealer whose business has waxed on the power of the Ayatollah has waned. Now the change of regimes in Iran has opened up formerly unimagined possibilities to him, possibilities that may lead to a new balance of power in the region. Balance of my
Tommy Clancy.
entertainment.
Okay. Did
Was
you want
teetering.
to talk about Jack Ryan?
Yes. So Jack Ryan, the TV show, starring
Not the man.
not the man, starring John Krasinski of The Office fame. He'd probably want me to say A Quiet Place. What do you think he'd want?
I think
Of License to Wed with
What
Robin
do I
Williams?
think he'd want? I think
Yeah.
I think he'd want that movie to have been a bigger hit.
Of Quiet Place? People loved Quiet Place.
License to Wed.
Oh, License to Wed. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
everybody wanted that to be a bigger
So,
hit.
I think he wanted
sadly, no.
Something Borrowed to be something better.
So,
Oh!
oh my gosh, take that, John Krasinski.
Wow,
I guess
that
really
felt good.
to you apparently.
I got a lot out of my
could
system
see
with that.
There's a lot of repressed-
resentment.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, the Tom Clancy show Jack Ryan is just called Jack Ryan on Amazon, and it premieres today as we're recording, August 31st
One
on
of the,
Amazon. I don't have like Prime or anything, so I don't. I guess I'm
I
never
got
gonna
it.
watch
My
it.
wife is gonna watch it.
Oh, really?
We'll find out from her
Kendra,
if it's good.
give me a call. I want to watch Jack Ryan.
One of the guys from The Wire is in it.
Yes, he's also that actor is also in The Odd Couple, the Matthew Perry, the recent
Oh, no kidding.
Odd Couple show. Yeah,
He's pretty funny in the show.
He's funny in this one.
The Wire's
I have
hilarious.
I have a very iffy past with the Jack Ryan universe.
And Tom Clancy books in general.
Yes,
You've never finished one.
No, I read that for Red October.
Okay.
I love the first Hunt for Red October, like the first Jack Ryan movie. The Harrison Ford ones I find so boring. Some of All Fears with Ben Affleck, I was even underwhelmed as a teenager watching that in the theaters. And the Chris Pine one,
You just like Chris Pine.
I like Chris Pine. I
Yeah.
like the movie. I thought it was fine.
Okay.
You know? So, I don't know. I hope this is good. I'd like to watch it. Someday I might read another Jack Ryan book, but if we're being honest, that day will never come.
I got a few Tom Clancy books planned to read.
Really? Like what?
The red one.
Red Rabbit?
Red Dawn
Red
Rising?
Storm Rising?
Yeah, something like
Okay.
that.
All right.
Okay.
All
What's
right.
next?
After that, we have Old Boy. Mutual, I don't know. I guess we have sort of a love-hate relationship with Jack Reacher.
Because we went to one of his movies
Yeah,
together and it was terrible.
I guess.
Never
Yeah.
go back. That was
Never
the bad
go
one.
back.
Apparently the
Never
first
go
one's
back.
pretty good.
I think it is. I think it's solid.
It's decent, yeah.
We're reading the book that's based on called One Shot a little bit later in the year.
But that's
This-
past tense. What's this book called?
This book is called Past Tense, though. This
Go
one's
on.
the title is Past Tense.
Just say the title then.
Past Tense.
Look, you've given me You've informed me of when this
Right.
title is taking place.
No.
What's the title
It's now.
of this
It's
book?
happening now.
Okay.
It's happening now.
All right.
The title is, and this is the title in
Uh-huh.
quotes, past
I
tense.
don't understand.
Okay.
What are you doing?
You know what? This is just for our listeners then. Book number 23. 23.
Yeah. What? Yes, that is a lot.
It's a lot of Jack Reacher. It's a lot of Jack Reacher.
If those
The
were
thing with-
alphabets,
The
forget
thing
it.
with Jack Reacher is I respect
W?
the way Lee Child changes some very integral elements of the books.
Mm-hmm.
He switches from first to third person. They happen all over. Like some of them will be when Jack Reacher is like 20. Some
Right.
will be when he's like 38. You know, I mean, they bounce all around. So he does some internal things to make the books interesting.
Right.
But I feel like the center of these books is that Jack Reacher is just kind of a brick of a character, just pushing through situations. So I don't know. You know, I went strong on the first couple, and then by 6 or 7, I was just like, I think I've read this.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
don't
you
know.
probably did because this is in past tense.
You're right. You're right.
So
Jack Reacher hits the pavement and sticks out his thumb. He plans to follow the sun on an epic trip across America from Maine to California. He doesn't get far. On a country road deep in the New England woods, he sees a sign to a place he's never been, the town where his father was born. He thinks, what's one extra day? He takes a detour. At the same moment, in the same isolated area, a car breaks down. 2 young Canadians had been on their way to New York City to sell a treasure. Now
No one
they're
appreciated
stranded
that.
on a lonely motel in the middle of nowhere. The owners seem almost too friendly. It's a strange place, but it's all there is. The next morning, in the city clerk's office, Reacher asks about the old family home. He's told no one named Reacher ever lived in town. He's always known his father left and never returned, but now Reacher wonders, was he ever there in the first place? As Reacher explores his father's life and as the Canadians face lethal dangers, a sentence I've never read before, strands of different stories begin to merge. Then Reacher makes a shocking discovery. The present can be tough, but the past can be tense. That's like a pun, like past tense. Yeah. And deadly.
all right.
Jack Reacher number 23. And sorry, I should have mentioned, these books are coming your way in November.
Just in time for your Thanksgiving presents.
Mary Higgins Clark and Ella Fair Burke return to their Under Suspicion series. I read the first couple of these. I liked them fine. They're
Okay.
very vanilla.
Uh-huh.
They're just the simplest kinds of. Anyway.
All right.
Queen of Suspense, Mary Higgins Clark and Ella Fair Burke, she doesn't get a cool little title, I guess, are back with their 5th book in the New York Times best-selling Under Suspicion series. When TV producer Laurie Moran investigates an unsolved murder, she becomes entangled in a web of long-buried secrets and begins to wonder if her own life is in grave danger
Is it?
as a mysterious stalker plots revenge.
Shoot.
She's always being stalked.
All right.
She needs to think about a career change. So that's it. That's
What was,
your
you
advance
didn't tell them the
notices.
title of the book.
Well, I closed out of it now. I don't remember.
It's called You Don't Own Me.
Thank you.
And don't tell me what to wear. Don't tell me what to do.
How about I handle the singing?
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. Go
No, that's
ahead.
all right. No, wait, you just told me what to do. I just told you not to.
You're right. I'm sorry. That's it.
Okay.
Tell me the New York Times bestsellers.
Guess what?
I'm excited. Yeah.
Little peek behind the curtain. Nick and I are recording this on a Friday.
Yeah.
Normally we record this on a Monday.
Okay.
But it's a long weekend, and Nick has a crazy schedule. I don't know what he's doing next week.
I'm in demand. I don't know.
Yeah.
What to tell you.
He's living the Jack Reacher life.
Yeah.
It feels like.
Just going around
So,
with a toothbrush in my pocket.
I say this because we're not going to be reading the hardcover. Hardcover
Oh.
fiction because we did that on last episode, but that was just Monday.
It was just Monday.
So if you want to know what this week is the hardcover fiction, just go back and listen to last week's
listen to
episode.
Last week's episode.
But I'm trying to find an audiobook because I'm about to take a long drive. So I thought we'd look at the New York Times bestsellers list for top 10 audiobooks.
Ooh.
Let's see what the world is listening to. Actually, I don't know. Maybe it's just New York. I don't know how the bestsellers list works.
It's sellers. Yeah.
All right. You ready to see what people are listening to?
I would love to. We've never done this list.
All right. Number 10, Spy Master by Brad Thor. Yeah, okay. The 18th book in the Scott Horvath. As war looms, a counterterrorism operation takes on a whole new role of his own way. Oh, boy. So this is 10 hours and 2 minutes of listening.
Boy.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Next one. Why didn't... you know what, also? I've used up all my New York Times article reading.
Oh,
They don't let you... they don't let you have it forever. So this is a fantasy book. I was actually just looking at this book in terms of maybe listening to it.
Okay.
This is called Age of War by Michael Sullivan. This is the 3rd book in the Legends of the First Empire series. 16 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wowzer.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. What's the last audiobook you listened to?
The last audiobook I listened to, well, the Diane Keaton one, I listened to a lot of that on
Oh,
audio.
okay. Sure.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, I'm listening to Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I just started that.
Which
coincidentally is number 11 on the audiobook
it
list.
is, yeah. Sorry, I lost my list there for a second. Number 8, Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. 10 years after her daughter disappears, a woman tries to get her life in order, but remains haunted by unanswered questions. 10 hours.
Read
Seems
by
like-
Helen Duff. That's not a name I know.
No, I think you meant Hillary Duff.
Nope.
Number 7, Daniel
Good
Silva,
job, yeah.
the other woman, not Danielle or Daniela.
Yeah.
That'd be funny if I said
Yeah.
Danielle's. Anyway, Gabriel Allen, the art restorer and assassin, fights the Russians to decide the fate of post-war global order. 10 hours. So I guess that's the thing. You want to be on this list. You're only 10 hours.
Yeah.
Because everything I'm looking at right now is like 16 hours. I'm like, I don't have time.
George Goodall, by the way, is like a legend in the audiobook universe. And he's the one
Reading?
who reads this one.
Okay. Number 6, Thrawn. Alliances by Timothy Zahn, a Star Wars saga. Darth Vader and Grand Admiral Thrawn join forces to serve Emperor Palpatine. 13 hours, 21 minutes.
That could be
read
fun.
by Mark Thompson.
Could be fun.
We just talked about the works of Timothy Zahn, not 3 episodes ago?
Yeah, just a
at
few
this
back
point?
with my old buddy Jesse.
Yeah,
If you want to find that, folks, you can go to soundcloud.com/allthebooks
all of them.
and look at episode 156, The Works of Timothy Zahn. I was just going to say they can find it on iTunes, too. Search
Yes,
on
that's
iTunes.
true.
Search on YouTube
Yeah.
for all the books. You can find you can find it.
We're there. Number 5, Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Fresh from the stay at a psychiatric hospital, a newspaper reporter reluctantly returns to her hometown to cover the murders of 2 girls. 9 hours, read by Anne Marie Lee.
I can't speak for that narrator, but I love the book Sharp Objects. I think
Okay.
it might be Gillian Flynn's best.
Ooh,
And I like Gone Girl very much, but there's something Gone Girl is very long,
right.
and it's a very full book. Sharp Objects is like this lean, mean, fast-paced, sparse kind of a novel, and it just works for the sort of dark
All killer, no filler?
subject. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. But I would recommend this book. And actually, somebody was in here the other day, and they'd seen the series, and they were like, they were asking me questions about the ending, and I was kind of like, that doesn't sound.
Yeah, I think they changed
there's
things.
some differences.
Yeah,
So
I think the
if
show
you're
changed
just a
things.
fan of the show, I definitely want to pick up the book because
Yeah.
there's some changes.
So, yeah, and the show just ended. I believe.
Yeah.
So, number 4 on the audiobook list, Stephen King, The Outsider. I
Yep.
imagine this is your whole life. A detective investigates a seemingly wholesome member of the community where an 11-year-old boy's body is found. 18 hours. So, yeah, almost 19 hours. Read by Will Patton.
Now I can't speak to Will Patton. Will Patton is you'd probably recognize him. He's an actor. He was in the movie Entrapment with Sean Connery and
Catherine
Catherine
Zeta-Jones.
Zeta-Jones. He
Yeah.
shows up in a lot of things.
Okay.
But he reads almost all of Stephen King's audiobooks, and
Oh.
he is excellent.
Okay.
His reading of Dr. Sleep was great.
Oh.
So I bet this would be good. And actually, I have this checked out on Overdrive right now, and I'm going to start it when I finish Little Fires Everywhere.
Gosh. Number 3, I'm kind of surprised by this. Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere is at number 3 for listing. I don't know why. A businessman falls into a world of monsters and knights beneath the London streets. 13 hours, read by Neil Gaiman himself.
He reads most of his. Yep.
He sure does. All right, number 2. I'm surprised it's not at number 1, but I guess it's been out for a while now. The President is Missing by Bill Clinton and James Patterson. President Jonathan Duncan. Cool, young, hip,
Yeah.
and all the ladies
Sexy
love
Mr.
him.
President.
Yeah. A Gulf War veteran and widower. Oh, boy. Okay. Takes on adversaries at home and abroad. 13 hours, read by Dennis Quaid and January Lavoie.
Yeah. Dennis Quaid, who played Bill Clinton in a movie.
Yeah, that's what you've said.
It's funny.
Yeah. That's funny, I guess, to me. Every time we read the summary, it's just like super young,
Yeah.
got all his hair,
Yeah.
fit as a fiddle,
Yeah.
great on the saxophone.
Almost too masculine.
Yeah. 4 terms they yell. All right. Something in the Water by Catherine
That'd
Stedman.
be scary.
A documentary filmmaker and an investment banker must decide whether they should protect a secret. It's almost 12 hours, and it's read by the author, Catherine Stedman. So,
Sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's bad.
yeah. So that was fun. We've never looked at the audiobooks before.
Yeah, that's true.
That was fun.
You know, some people, like audiobooks aficionados, care more about the readers oftentimes than the books.
That's what I've been picking up
I mean,
on.
I can speak to that because there are definitely books where I think, like, if not for the reader, I would have hated that book, and vice versa. Sometimes you think there's a good book in there, but this person is a terrible narrator.
Yeah.
So I mean, I love this. I think I've told this on here before, but Archer Mayer, who was back here in 2014, as we were all trying to bone up on the books, you know, read the ones we hadn't and stuff. We got some audiobooks in. The books themselves are good. If you've never read them before, Archer Mayer's pretty solid.
Right.
And the audiobooks have the single worst reader that I've ever heard.
Right.
And we sort of gingerly brought that up over dinner, and he was like, "Oh, he's terrible. He's the worst." It was like I put it in my contract that they have to have a different reader for the new ones. So it just cracked me up. It cracked me up.
That's funny.
It was probably just, I think it was more that the guy just wasn't suited to the kind of books they were.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't about this man as a terrible narrator. Yeah. It just wasn't gelling, and you could really feel it. So it was funny that Archer picked up on that as well. But.
All right. Well, I haven't picked my audiobook yet. Maybe I won't do it.
Well.
Because I like sci-fi and I like fantasy. Every time I find something I'm like, this sounds interesting, I read the summary, I'm like, oh, never mind, it doesn't sound interesting. And then they're like 20 hours.
Yeah.
I can barely go 8 hours until I'm like,
Yeah. I hear you.
We'll see.
You know, there's a lot. Overdrive has a lot of Twilight Zone like audio dramas, which are really cool. I used to listen to those on CD back in Michigan when I worked at that library. But there's a lot of them.
Okay.
And some old Green Hornet radio serials.
Oh.
Overdrive's a wealth of stuff.
You're
gonna pass. All right.
I mean, yeah. If you like Green Hornet, go for it.
Yeah.
So you love Green Hornet.
Yeah, but I haven't listened to him.
Yeah.
So.
All right. What's next on this list of things we're doing? Oh, the interview.
It's time. Yeah, it's time. So before we go into this, why don't we give a little background here on, because I mean this was all you. You came up with interviewing Joe Haldeman. You reached out to him. Like, you made it happen. So how did you first become aware of the author, and you know how did it go from there?
I don't remember if I was paying too much attention to the Hugo winners, like the Hugo list at the time, or if Forever War was just a book that was coming up in lots of like best sci-fi books to read.
Which it does.
Because I had like Starship Troopers and Hyperion and whatnot. So I was like, what are the best sci-fi books to read? And Forever War was on one of them. And so Forever War is part of like a few books that I read right out of college that were like sci-fi classics. And it was the first one I ever read on my Kindle. I got the Kindle as a graduation present, and so it was the first ebook I ever read.
Wow.
Yeah, so I ended up just reading it very quickly.
Okay.
And really liked it.
So if you're not familiar with Forever War, it's an allegory for the Vietnam War.
Yeah, Joe Haldeman was drafted into the Vietnam War, and when he came back, he wrote a few stuff before that, but he also, he wrote the Forever War. And so it won in 1976. So I guess that means 1975 is when it would have come out. And it really is just kind of a sci-fi allegory for the Vietnam War, but also veterans coming back home from the Vietnam War, and it being like a different experience and not being necessarily welcomed. And also because in Forever War, the idea is that while you're out in space and you're traveling a lot, you're going, faster than light and whatnot, you're not aging while the rest of Earth is. Yeah. So it seems like it's going on forever to you. And at a certain point, Earth doesn't even like care.
Right.
Or they forget even sometimes that they're at war.
See, I was space. Now I can only speak to the graphic novel, which Haldeman did write.
Right.
So I'm sure the novel gets into this much deeper, but I found that storytelling device to be a really sort of beautiful way to express something that's so tragic. You know, the way, they're off to war, the world continues without them, and they come back, and not only are things different, but they have no place in it anymore, which is such a tragedy.
Right.
It's such a real life tragedy, and I feel like the book handles that in a really elegant way that doesn't feel heavy-handed, that just, if you didn't know that this is a veteran of the Vietnam War writing about those experiences, if you read this like 100 years from now, the story totally plays.
Yeah.
If you know what he's talking about, there's a whole deeper level that just adds a lot of weight to it. So I was very impressed by it, and do plan to read the novel itself.
Oh,
so
all right.
I'm glad that you brought this into my world.
Okay, great.
And I likewise think that you should try the graphic novel.
No, I'm going to read it. Yeah, I didn't know that existed. And it does look like like the art style is very reminiscent of The Dark Knight Returns.
Well, I think
so.
that one is from 1988, which makes
Oh
sense.
yes, yeah.
Makes
a lot
sense.
of things would look like The Dark Knight Returns at that point.
Yep.
So all right, let's.
Let's let the man talk.
Okay, I'm gonna turn down our mic. Of multiple Hugo Awards, and we just did an episode on the 2018 Hugo Awards. And my first question to you is, when you won the Hugo Award, what was it like for you? Because I know you grew up reading a lot of sci-fi classics and reading authors like Heinlein. What was it like for you to join their ranks, for your peers to say, we think you're as good as the authors you grew up reading?
Well, it was really it was very marvelous for me because, in fact, Heinlein was there.
Oh, really?
And so, the awards are given at the awards meeting, the WorldCon.
Right.
Everybody was there, and it was fun. It was kind of overpowering, actually.
Right.
They threw me in the swimming pool.
They threw you in a pool?
Yeah. In my new $100 suit. At that time, in that context, it wasn't a show as such. It was the World Science Fiction Convention.
Right.
And we were in a big banquet room, and the awards were given at the front of the banquet.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it was all very public. And at that, especially then, I was not that accomplished a public speaker.
Okay.
So I was all kind of absolutely nervous about it. I got the word that I had won. I was not supposed to know that, but I had been told. I thought, oh no, do I trust the guy who told me?
Hi there, Joe. Thanks for talking to us here.
Hi.
So I've been a Star Trek fan for a long time, and I've read your Star Trek books, both of them. I enjoyed them both very much, and I was just curious, how did you happen to get involved with that, and what was the experience like, sort of working within those guidelines versus doing your own thing?
Well, okay, I got involved with it because they called me up and said, well, I was talking to Fred Pohl, who was in charge of the series, and I said, well, now that Jim Blish is dead, who is going to do the Star Trek books? And he said, you are. What? So I had about a day to prepare myself. And
Oh, wow.
I went out and bought an armload of them.
Of the original, the Jim Blish novels.
Yeah, but there were not many of them, actually, just
Sure.
a few.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of the Star Trek shows.
So you were a fan by that point? I mean, were you a Star Trek fan?
Everybody was. I mean, in science fiction, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
The big thing at the time. And at this time, when I got the assignment, they were into reruns, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And so I watched them up at my mother's place in Tarrytown, New York. And I watched them with my niece, who was at the time 8 years old.
Oh, okay.
And so Uncle Joe was going crazy. He's listening to these old things, So I listened to them, and I took notes and read all the background books. Even at that time, it was an armload of books, and treated it like a research project.
Okay.
I mean, I was a postgraduate student in the whole thing, So I talked to Gene Roddenberry and some of the producers, Dorothy Fontana, like that. So as I say, it was as if I was getting paid for a research project, and I just went ahead and did it. And it was kind of, I have to say, very fun. It's a much more public thing than writing in general is.
Sure, yeah.
Don't sit in this little room and type away. So
did you find you were pretty free? I mean, you could do what you wanted with the story, or did they have a lot of like, oh no, you can't do that, or you know what I mean? Like, how much structure did they give you?
Well, one thing was taboos, of course. There were things you couldn't talk about, and themes that you were not going to address without being very oblique, sexual themes and such. It was a very interesting, to me, a kind of a pioneering TV feeling. Although, of course, we weren't pioneers at all. We were 60 or 80 years after people started doing television. To me, it was all new, of course.
Sure. Well, I enjoyed both of them, and I also really enjoyed the graphic novel adaptation of Forever War. And I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about adapting that work into a graphic novel. I know you collaborated
Sure.
with your wife on that a little bit, and I'm excited that Forever Free is getting an adaptation coming out in a collection next month, I believe, or early October.
I collaborated a lot with the artist, Mark Van Alpen,
Mm-hmm.
the original series. Mark had definite visual ideas, and he was more sophisticated in those things than I was, so I deferred to his expertise usually. But I knew more about science, and possibly I knew more about science fiction. So we had an interesting kind of conflict going between each other. I mean, a very friendly sort of thing. And at that time, he lived in the Netherlands, and I lived in the United States.
Belgium. He was in Belgium.
Gay says he was in Belgium, of course.
Okay.
And so it was a long distance communication.
Which I imagine was much more complicated in the 80s than it is now.
It sure was, because we didn't have Skype,
Yeah.
for instance.
Yeah.
In fact, we communicated by fax machine.
Oh, really?
And yes, that was really clumsy and
Yeah.
slow.
Okay. Is there anything that you can tell us about the Forever Free adaptations coming out? Anything? How close is it to the original book? What that experience was like, what people have to look forward to when that comes out?
Well, I think it's pretty close to the original book, because I had the book at my elbow while I was writing it. And I didn't have any special constraints on this version. I just went ahead and tried to do the best storytelling job I could.
Regarding Forever Free, was Forever Free an original sci-fi story that you were thinking of that you then decided this would be a good sequel for Forever War, or was it always going to be a sequel?
I'm going back through the mists of time.
Sure.
Forever Peace, which is quite a different
Right.
novel, was meant to be a sequel to the Forever.
No, Forever Free is a direct sequel.
Forever Free is a direct sequel. Well, that's true, yeah.
Right.
Forever Peace is thematic.
Forever Peace, thematic.
Right.
Anyhow, ask her. She's the expert. I just write the stuff.
Okay. Another question I have is both your Forever War, Forever Peace, they deal with mankind giving up their individuality. And in Forever War, you kind of position that as unattractive. And then in Forever Peace, you kind of suggest giving up our individuality is the only way to save us as a species. And so I'm wondering, you wrote all of those before the internet became a huge thing, before there was social media and all that. And now that we have that, which side are you leaning towards more these days as we congregate in closed spaces on the internet?
Well, actually, I think we should go back to the radio
Okay.
and get rid of all this technological progress.
Okay.
It certainly hasn't helped us at all. I think the radio and the fountain pen were sort of the pinnacle of human progress. And everything since then has been down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
But that's just me. I mean, sitting within the confines of our own civilization, it's hard to try to be objective and say ABC about the processes that we use to make a living and that we use to communicate with one another. It's a flawed process. One thing that makes it difficult to be a citizen nowadays, as opposed to, say, when I started, is the real-time nature of it. That is, say, you and I are talking right now.
Right.
And potentially millions of people could be listening to this.
Sure,
And
potentially.
Yeah. But once they hear it, it's just there, and it seems to be permanent.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be I would write a book, and it would come out a couple of years later, and if somebody read it, they would have time to reflect on it. They might even write me a letter about it.
Right.
And so many years after the thing was written, I would get this letter and have time to reflect on that person's reactions to what I said. And then I could write in a very reasoned way why he's an idiot. And,
Sure.
Whereas now it's almost as soon as I say something, I'm sort of vulnerable to reaction.
Right.
All the millions of people who are hanging on their radios, all those Philcos out there that have the big vacuum tubes hissing and everything.
Right.
We have an alien presence coming now. You hear it?
Yes. Yep.
Creatures from another time and space are about to encroach on our interview here. But fortunately, my robot assistant is taking care of it.
This is sort of our standard question to get down to how you feel about your own work. So the question really is, I think everybody who's a sci-fi fan who's familiar with that genre has heard of or read Forever War. And I'm just wondering if, outside of that, if there's a work of yours that maybe wasn't a big smash hit, or something that you particularly liked that you would like if people now were to rediscover.
Well, I think what I would like to have rediscovered is actually a trilogy called the World's Trilogy.
Okay.
Which, I don't know, doesn't seem to have made the impact that I had expected that it would make. But I have become an old and bitter man. And so, from the viewpoint of an old and bitter man, I now no longer expect anybody to react positively to my work. I say, I'm glad they bought the damn thing, or at least stole it from the library.
Hey, don't steal from libraries.
Oh, no. If you steal it from the library, make sure you make a note so that they have to buy a new one.
Yeah, there you go. Then everybody wins.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here, I'll turn you back to Eric, but it was a pleasure talking to you, and thanks so much for doing this.
Do you still find time to write on the go with your cycling, with your traveling to Europe?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was always able to squeeze writing in. I think if I, take a sort of cosmic viewpoint and look at it, I'd say the travel has not interfered with my production so much as my own success.
Okay.
That is to say, I don't, I'm not aware of being paid for what I do anymore.
Right.
And so I don't have to say, oh my God, I better finish this book because the bills are due. That was part of my consciousness, part of my literary consciousness, if you will, when most of my most important books are being written.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's kind of, big deal. BFD,
right.
as we say, when we're not being listened to. I could actually cease to exist in terms of the production of literature, and it would not make that much difference to my readership or listenership or whatever. But I do like to exist, and I like to make an impact on people who actually exist at the same time. My day-to-day creation of things that other people may or may not read is, as it has always been, about the fountain pen more than the computer.
Right.
And so it's a slower process than it is with most writers.
Right.
And after I have written the thing down in one of my dozens of bound notebooks, it is a tentative thing. Nobody reads it until it has been typed up and goes out into some sort of a network process, whether it's conventional publishing or email or whatever. So yeah, it's a funny kind of mix of the modern world and the postmodern world and the traditional publishing world and traditional pre-publishing writing.
Right.
Because what I do is sit and write onto a blank piece of paper with a fountain pen. And that's modern in 19th century sense, because fountain pens were pretty brand new back then.
Right.
But other people seem to think it's the 21st century. And God, where they got that idea, I don't know. But many of them have never even held a fountain pen, and their fingers are much cleaner than mine.
Right.
Yep, I have ink under my fountain under my fingernails.
Thank you so much for your time and for agreeing to this interview, and also thank you to Mrs. Haldeman. We've picked her up on the mic as well, so thank her for answering some of the questions for us.
You're welcome.
Thank you again, and I can't wait for our listeners to hear this interview.
Okay.
No, You're well. Oh, wait, hold on. There we go. We're back. Sorry, I got to turn down my own mic volume. Otherwise, I'm getting an echo. And I got to turn the mic up. Look, a lot of stuff is happening right now, and I don't want to get into it.
That's all right.
The transition is always sloppy here on my end, so.
That's all right.
Sorry.
Should we go back in for the podcast sake?
Yes!
All right.
Sorry.
That was so fun. I'm so glad that worked out.
Yeah.
I like that his wife got in on it a little bit too.
Yeah, well,
She's
been there.
Yeah, she's a collaborator on the graphic novels. I mean, she's right on the listed along with the authors. So
well,
I
mainly talked to her about setting up the interview. So
Yeah.
she's in charge of the scheduling and
Oh, okay.
everything.
All right.
So
all right.
she runs it. You know what? Let's switch over to our there we go. Yeah.
So I mean, I think I could get down in a world that's just an ink pen and radios again. I think I'd be fine in that world.
Yeah, you have that retro vibe about yourself. So
I'll tell you. I mean, it really. I definitely, like, after reading the graphic novel, I wanted to read for Forever War. But
Right.
after that conversation, I want to go back and read all of them.
Yeah.
Even Forever Peace.
and you want to listen to the Green Hornet radio show
Yeah.
yourself.
Why not? Why not? I was not familiar with the World series. But did you know that one?
Yeah, I knew of it. I haven't read it yet because
Okay.
I was going through the Forever series. But yeah, he's called it. And I think other people have referred to it as very ambitious. So I'm looking forward to getting to those sometime.
Well, let me give you a little synopsis here.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
In Worlds Apart and Worlds Enough in Time, the acclaimed Hugo and Nebula Award-winning author of the Forever War imagines a near future rife with exhilarating and terrifying possibilities, when hundreds of thousands of human beings have abandoned the Earth's surface to live in man-made habitats orbiting the troubled planet.
Right.
Haldeman's science fiction saga follows Marianne O'Hara, a young inhabitant of the world known as New York, from her arrival on Earth as a student who becomes seduced by radical politics, through her coming of age amid the world's war and the habitat's devastation, and ultimately to Marianne's emergence as a leader and possibly the last hope of the human race as it head towards these stars. Stephen King said of the first book in Haldeman's trilogy, "There are scenes and worlds I will remember forever. These gripping novels will enthrall anyone interested in the future, that of our planet and of the human race."
Do you realize Stephen King, even back then,
He blurbed.
was blurbed?
He blurbed.
He-
Well, I
he's
put
been
it on our Twitter page
I saw, yeah.
where Stephen King actually blurbed Joe
His-
Haldeman as
yeah.
a human being.
Yeah.
So, King blurb King.
Yeah,
What are you going to do?
Stephen King, as we've said, is just, you read a book and there's a Stephen King
There it
blurb.
is.
So even
There it
back in
is.
the 80s.
Yeah.
So
We just sucking
yeah.
up all the output. Absolutely. Well, we have some
Yeah.
Joe Haldeman books in our collection, certainly more in the whole system.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any that you want that we don't have, let us know and we will find them. Go to your local library and
Yeah.
check out some Joe Haldeman books. Thanks again to Joe for sitting down and talking to us. Thanks
Yeah.
to Gabe for making it happen. It was a lot of fun.
yeah.
Good times.
All right.
All right, should we do some library news?
Yeah, let's do some library news real quick.
Real
What's going
quick.
on? I mean, I
All
guess
right.
everything's starting.
Well, I mean, the big thing is the auditorium is starting back up again. The first thing we have down there is going to be a sneeze from Eric,
Excuse me.
followed by a production of She Loves Me,
When is that?
which is let's see, in Wellsville we're doing 2 shows in Houghton, 2 shows in Wellsville. So
Okay.
Wellsville shows are as follows:
Uh-huh.
7:00 on Saturday, September 15th, and 2:00 on Sunday, the 16th. So next week we're going to be talking to some cast members from the show, so you get a little bit more insight on that. We hope you can join us for that. That's of course free of charge, as are all
These
library-
podcasts
all
are.
library
Oh, and the
programming.
libraries, yes,
Yeah.
as well.
The following week we have Casual Reply, who were here earlier in the year doing a John Denver tribute.
Do you think that
This is
means
set
like when you
for-
go like if it's shout, they're like hey, and then the other one's like
Okay.
hey. Yeah.
Yeah, that's casual.
What a
Hey,
casual
what's up?
reply that was.
Casual Reply is back on September 20th, and that is sponsored by the Allegheny Arts Association, so you can catch them at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Book clubs, we're reading for banned book weeks. We're reading Ernest Hemingway's Farewell to Arms.
Mhm.
We're just finishing up The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert
Don't
Galbraith.
point at me when you say that title.
I just couldn't remember.
You're
it.
the cuckoo who's calling.
And we're reading A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Tolls. You can join us for any and all of those things. A lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah.
Anything you want to mention?
Oh yes, that's why I was confused as to why you said this play, this musical of yours,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
is going to be the next thing in the auditorium, because the next thing in the auditorium on the 7th is Gnomeo and not Gnomeo and Julius,
Sherlock Gnomes, my
Sherlock
friend.
Gnomes.
Which I have seen
Yeah.
in theaters. So
Sorry.
that's real.
And next
that
week
happened.
starts back up on the 4th, our Arcade Tuesdays for 8 and up, for students 8 and up. So we got Minecraft, we got Mario Karts, we got some basketballs, we got some board games, bring your Yu-Gi-Oh cards, all that fun stuff. And Wednesday starts our new teen nights.
Ooh.
So it used to be Anime Club, but now we're going to expand our the things we watch and just hang out. So again, teen night is just when teens can come to the library and just hang out while something else is on.
Great.
So I think we're starting with Avengers Infinity War.
Okay.
But we're going to watch movies. There's going to be anime still. We're just going to switch it up a little bit.
So if you're a teen in the area or
Yeah.
have teen children's or nieces or nephews, tell
Yeah.
them about it. They love to be called teen children,
Yeah.
as I just said.
Yeah.
So please use that phrasing.
Hello, my teen nephews.
That is that is required.
Yeah, that's definitely like an uncle kind of thing would say though. It's like, oh hey, it's my teen nephews. It's like, oh gosh,
Yeah.
Uncle Nick,
Yeah.
you're so lame. Sorry.
One
Nobody
final
says
bit of
that.
library news. I want to say hearty congratulations and thank you to one of our longtime employees here, Liz, who just retired
yes.
after 15 years at the David A. Howe Public Library. So she's already off enjoying retirement. We're having some new staff coming in, but we wanna take a minute to thank Liz for all her time here. We had fun working with her, and we wish her all the best. Are you gonna sneeze anymore? You look like you were gonna sneeze.
We remember
Liz.
all the times we've had together.
You really look like you're gonna sneeze. Every
No,
time you do that.
that's how you sing Graduation by Vitamin C.
Okay, all right.
It was at everybody's graduation
Okay.
from 1999 to now, I think.
It's continuing.
I
What
don't
about
know.
time of your life? You know,
Yeah.
another turning point.
I don't. At my sister's one, they sang "Bridge Over Troubled Water." I didn't really understand it.
I don't get it either, but
So,
I guess it's better.
At
than
my
the
brother-in-law's, I think they sang
Corbin.
no, the song by Journey that I hate.
Mm.
Don't Stop Believing.
Don't stop believing.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
And I don't like going to high school graduations in the first place. So then
Yes.
having a bunch of high schoolers sing "Don't Stop Believing," my least favorite Journey song, was not a good time.
I know.
But you know
it
what?
wasn't.
I was in Japan.
Yeah. So a twist.
Twist ending.
A twist to that story. Well, my thanks again to Joe and Gay Haldeman for talking to us.
Yes,
If you were a
absolutely.
fan of that interview, I would suggest that you go back a few to episode 149 of the All the Books show, where we chat with David Dvorkin.
Yes.
It's another good sci-fi interview in
Also
there.
wrote Star Trek books.
Also wrote some Star Trek books.
Yeah.
So you can go back and listen to that. That is episode
Yeah.
149, and of course, all episodes previous. So
Yes.
episodes 1 through 148, you could also check out.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for tuning in.
150.
Nice job.
Thank you.
And we'll be with the cast of She Loves Me next week.
And with you,
Mm-hmm.
our listeners. Oh, is that?
I was just ending. Yeah,
Bye.
that was my end. And our streamers, of course, who are still hanging out.
You don't-
Did you like the Haldeman? You don't want to say.
You don't call them streamers.
As soon as I said it, I thought
Yeah.
that doesn't sound good.
I mean, some of them are probably streamers.
That
but,
doesn't sound
yeah.
right at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
With
don't
technology.
like somebody watch on a talk show doesn't like it. Thank you to all
Yeah.
our other talk show
I
hosts
see
out
some
there.
nice feedback in here from Miss Music Box, who enjoyed the interview.
Yeah.
Thank you. We always love a good interview here
Yeah.
on the All the Book Show. We've got a couple sort of in the works. We won't name names right now,
Yeah.
but we've got some folks that we're talking to for future future episodes.
Yeah.
So anything else you want to say?
Theodore Roosevelt, maybe?
The long dead Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, long dead.
Yes. Bad
That
news.
explains the lack of email return.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I have just been sitting at my desk hitting refresh
fuming.
over and
Fuming
over
about
again. Yeah.
Theodore Roosevelt.
Why won't he
Exactly.
return my? Screw
Hey,
him.
You know what though?
What?
I got you Theodore Rex for your birthday.
All right, we're done.
By Whoopi Goldberg. I just want to know if you've watched
All
it
right.
yet. The people want to know if you
I
watched it.
haven't watched it yet.
But we're going to.
Yes. We're showing it in the auditorium.
Perfect.
There we go. All right.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
So long, folks.